if we are to thrive in society and if we are to reach our potential, not just in one given area of life, which might be, say, success in our profession, but to be successful in our relationships and be in touch with our needs and our desires so that we can thrive, then in order to do that, we need to understand where we got the identity that we got and what we can do to recreate that and in a more integrated way. So how do we learn about ourselves? How do we learn who we are? Which then becomes a foundation on which we direct our lives. And that happens early on in childhood. So just to give you one framework for that, I'm going to quote an American sociologist, Charles Horton Cooley, who talked about the concept of the looking glass self as the way we develop our identity. So what is the looking glass self? The looking glass self theory explains that we see ourselves based on how we imagine others see us. And to take it a step further, we not just imagine how they see us, we imagine what their judgments are about us. And then later, this sort of becomes an identity where those judgments that we perceive from others become our judgments about ourselves. So the reason this is so important to understand is that in the concept of our initial years in the world when we are being socialized, if our parents were too busy or not really focused on parenting fully because of whatever reasons, and they weren't there fully to be there for us, to see us, to be attuned to us, to understand us, and depending on the degree to which we experience this, we as humans, because we are meaning making, we as children then perceived that attitude that they had towards us as our assumed identity. So what this means is that if we didn't feel attended to, then we made the meaning that we're not worthy of being attended to. Or if we didn't fully feel loved or cared for, then we maybe adopted a feeling of being unlovable. And that then later becomes the foundation on which we build identity and go about our lives for the rest of our lives. So understanding this is really important, because what that tells us is that that framework of identity was established early on, and it may be not the accurate assessment of who we really are, but a perceived assessment based on a child's view of who we thought others saw us as, which we have now just adopted and made a reality in our lives. So when now you put that into perspective with a view of, okay, what do I need to heal in order to not feel unworthy, to not feel unlovable, but instead to feel worthy, lovable, and limitless, which is really how we were born. Because when you look at children, they don't know limitations, and unless they're taught that something is dangerous, they're just going to straight go into it. So that's obviously something we learned. So just the way we learned that a hot stove is something we shouldn't touch, we also learned that there are issues with us that then have now stayed and become a real part of our identity that we're going to carry into our adult lives unless we, as adults who now have agency, can do something about it. So my focus is really on relationship wounds and how we can use whatever information we have in terms of what the results we're getting in our lives, or where it's not working for us, or where we want it to work better, and then use that as the springboard to dive into whatever it is that we need to find out about ourselves, with a view to really just come out on the other side. So we don't want to dive so deep that we actually have to go in. It's not a therapeutic process, but it's a coaching process where literally the focus is on getting where you want to get. So that's the core of the message that I wanted to deliver to you today. And as usual, I'm here to support you in any way that you might want. So reach out to me, and I'll talk to you again very soon.